I would love to share another story about being in our heart and being connected with the natural world. When I was a little girl, there was a patch of ferns next to the house where I grew up. And it was this gorgeous little fern grove that as a kid, I was small enough to crawl in and under the ferns and could be underneath their graceful boughs and be with all the little amazing spiraling fiddleheads as they like came out of the ground. And I loved this space and I loved these ferns. And I would go and hang out in absolute, utter joy. When I was an adult, I had an asparagus fern plant in my office when I was practicing massage. It was hanging up in the corner, and I never really thought about it or thought about ferns from my childhood. It's just never thought about it. It was just my plant that I watered. And so in having this plant in my office, at one point, I suddenly became aware. I was in a more expanded state doing my healing work with individual clients. And I suddenly became aware of the consciousness of the plant, somehow helping me with my healing work. And I turned my attention to the plant and I said, why? Why are you doing this? I didn't understand where this gift was coming from. And the fern, in oneness with all fern consciousness, offered back to me the memory of myself as a child being in the ferns. And the information that came was very simple. And before I finish the story, if your mind has already said, okay, I don't believe this, please let me finish the story. So the information that came to me from the consciousness of the plant was this image of me as a child, and simply sharing, you loved me, you love me, and this is just love coming back. So the additional piece of the story that I want to share is that it had flowers. Sometime later, it had all these gorgeous flowers, and the communication had already happened with this plant. So I was in a different level of resonance with this plant. And I saw all these beautiful flowers on it, and I could feel its desire to be pollinated. It was just oozing this quality of, please pollinate me. And I had a thought of, this is all before my awakening happened. This is in my 20s. I had a thought of how stupid that was for the plant to have that desire. On the second floor, in a screened-in office with multiple doors to get outside, to have any, there's no way it was going to be pollinated. And so my judgment was present of, like, that's a stupid desire to have. And the next day, when I came into the office, there was a bee that was pollinating all of the flowers. And it was one of the biggest lessons for me that this plant taught me, and that it showed me, because I felt its desire so clearly and so pristinely the day before, that I could feel the power of divine desire, free of attachment, free of longing, free of any grief or lack or not enough. It was just a completely profound, free, pure, divine desire. And so I got to have that gift, the experience of that the day before. And then to show up in my closed office that was locked, I had to come through doors downstairs on the first floor and come upstairs and turn corners and unlock and open up my office with closed windows, and there's a bee in there. So I opened the windows and I opened the screen and I let the bee out after it was done. And then a little while later, there were all these amazing, just stunning red berries all over that plant. And I had had that plant for years, and it had never done that before. So I offer to you again the joy of the exchange of being connected with the natural world and opening through our infinite heart and our oneness, where we are all divinity, dancing and playing out our lives, whether we're playing out as a plant life or a human life or an animal life or a planetary life. Thank you so much for listening. And there are other short inspirational videos that you can find where I'm sharing stories like this to remind you of how exquisite you are and how phenomenal life is. Thank you so much for listening. Namaste.